Welcome to the Generation Elevation podcast, a conscious, connected platform for those who are ready to manifest their dream life. I'm your host, Elise Riley, a former PT, now motivational speaker, igniting empowerment and transformation all across the globe. Here at Generation Elevation, we are committed to bringing you the most inspiring guests who will share their stories, wisdom, and advice to help you progress closer to living a life of your own terms.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about perception is projection. Now, you may have heard me speak on this before many times, but essentially what this means is what you perceive outside of you in your reality is a reflection of you. That everyone, everything is your mirror. Now, you may be wondering automatically, how could Sally from work be my mirror? Like, how could she be my mirror, right? Maybe she is someone that really triggers you and that maybe you don't actually like. And yet, she is your projection. I'm going to be showing you and teaching you how this comes to be the case, and also how the person that you love and care about is also your projection too. So it's not just about triggers here, it's also about your wins as well. But let's get into the triggers side of things first. If you are projecting, you may definitely feel triggered. That is one of the signs that is showing you that you are projecting. You may have a strong emotional reaction to something. You may have unrealistic expectations. You might feel defensive on a topic, like you really want to argue for your sake, for your side. You might feel criticized or be criticizing. You might have like this unexplained hostility, like out of nowhere you just have like this outburst, right? Or you might be lacking empathy. You might be feeling like judgy. You might be judging someone else. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're saying these things to their face, but you're doing it in your mind, okay? So how can perception is projection? How can projection impact you? Essentially, like when we are projecting in a negative way, it can cause emotional chaos. Like we can have miscommunications, misunderstanding. We can be stuck in negative patterns, isolation, loneliness. We can feel like unfulfilled in our potential because we're like projecting onto other people. So therefore, like we're not actually learning the lesson of what they're trying to mirror back to you, and therefore not actually achieving that wholeness that we all really deep down seek. You might have trust issues. If you have trust issues, you're projecting. If you are fearful of rejection, you're projecting. If you have your relationships at the moment deteriorating around you, potentially you are projecting. You may have conflicts that are happening around you. You may really suffer from comparison or envy from other people. You might have financial mismanagement. You might have codependency. All of these things are from projecting. So how do we fix this? How does this actually happen? Why do people project their beliefs, their emotions onto other people? What's happening here is repression, a repression of a feeling and an emotion, which basically means instead of, let's say, an experience that has caused anger within you to elevate and come to your conscious awareness. Let's say you're angry about what Sally at work has said and you're feeling this within you. Most people will go through their life experiencing potentially a traumatic event or a painful event, and instead of feeling that pain and letting it go, they repress it and refuse to feel it in general, so go into total denial. This is like people that experience grief. people that experience grief and then just like pretend that that thing never even happened, usually it's because they've repressed that emotion, and sometimes it just comes back up again a couple of years later. When we repress an emotion, it can really impact our health and well-being, and later on manifest as illness, disease, and injuries as well. When we repress this emotion, because we've refused to feel it, we're in that denial of that experience, that feeling. We refuse to feel the feeling. What happens is most people will then project it onto others around them. So you see the projection, you see the blaming, the complaining, justifying, right? So an example of this, it could be somebody's parent, right? Somebody's parent has gone through a really emotional, painful life. They've experienced many traumas, and therefore they may not have a relationship with their child because they keep projecting to their child, who's grown up now, right? They keep projecting to their child on certain topics that can be quite hurtful. They might be saying really nasty things, or they might be saying nasty things. They might be not really making any effort. And therefore that child is feeling like, what the hell? Like, what's the point of having a relationship with my parent if they are being so nasty? The thing here is to have the empathy and understanding that potentially your parent has gone through something really painful in their life. And because they've been never taught on how to actually feel the feeling and let it go appropriately, they've then learned their whole life to repress their emotions and project it onto everybody else. So in these circumstances, like I've known so many people that have experienced something similar to this, and that's why I use this example. If this is something that resonates with you, what would then be the next step from here is to ask yourself, okay, well, how is this me? What emotions am I repressing in myself? If that person, because that person is your mirror, okay? Yes, they are being nasty to everybody else, but you might not be, but you may also be repressing an emotion and dealing with it in another way. So it's always important to ask yourself, how is that person me? Because then you can have that empathy, compassion for that person, and understanding of, okay, that's the only way they've been taught how to deal with what's going on for them. So it's to love them unconditionally, which is what we're all striving for at the end of the day. So if I rattled off before something that resonated with you, whether it's the parent example or whether it is just conflicts and things that are arising that are triggering you, whether it just be the traffic lights are getting really on your nerve, or it could be like your partner, it could be your friendship group, whatever that may be for you, here's how to address this perception is projection thing and how to really address those feelings so that you can let it go. All right. So first of all, I'm going to say it, meditation, mindfulness meditation, becoming aware of yourself, becoming aware of your thoughts. Now, most people will think that meditation is all about clearing your thoughts. And the first thing I say to clients is, no, it's not about clearing your thoughts. It's about becoming aware of you. Meditation is a time where you can set aside for yourself to get to know yourself. We filter information of our experience through our brain, through our 5 senses. We generalize, distort, and delete about 140 million bits of information, 11 million bits of information come through our brain, and only 140 we can actually register and consciously be aware of, okay? We can only think one thought at a time, and there's studies, there's people that go on and yab on about 60,000 thoughts a day, but there is no studies to actually support that. I do know that we think a lot of thoughts, yes, but mainly if we address the feeling, then all those thoughts can dissipate and they lose their energetic charge. So if we address the feelings, the thoughts go away. So it's really important to be doing this. When we're in meditation, we can address the feelings. We can be witness. We don't have to be attached to, I am anxious, or I am sad, I am an overthinker. It's no, you are the awareness of that thought. And you can either choose to adopt that or not and let it go. You get to choose what's in your experience and not. through your energy, and mindfulness meditation is a really great place to start. The next thing would be self-compassion, okay? So if you're finding that you're projecting and you're feeling triggered, or maybe you're comparing yourself to somebody else, you might want to start looking at how you're treating yourself. Most people that hate themselves hate others and refuse to realize that actually the person that they're hating is them. Everyone else around you is a reflection of you. So for me, in the gym, when I first started going there, I would get majorly triggered and compare myself to all the women in there. And I would get triggered by confident women who looked really beautiful. Little did I know that actually they were reflecting back my own beauty. But because I was triggered about them, I was making their beauty mean that I wasn't good enough and that I was ugly. And these were all the beliefs that I had about myself. It wasn't until I did the work on me whereby I started to become in acceptance of me. I started to love me. I started to really make an effort on the way that I spoke to me. When these women around me in the gym started to lose their triggering charge that they had on me, because really I felt insecure already, and they were just external pieces of the puzzle that were emphasizing to me what I already had deep within, which was that insecurity. So as soon as I dealt with that, they then no longer triggered me. Asking for feedback is another great tip. Literally, if you are finding that you're continually getting triggered by things, maybe asking the people closest around you for some feedback. Like, ask them, what do they think your strengths are and what do they think your weaknesses are? This is a really good task, because at the end of the day, they're going to see in you what is in them. And they're also you're going to see in them what is in you. Does that make sense? That was a full hypnotic language sentence just then. I hypnotized myself. But essentially, what they share with you is going to be either something that you can choose to take on or choose to realize that it's that person's projection as well. So be mindful that people are going to project onto you what they see in you that is a reflection of them. Ooh. So the next thing I would say is communication. So let's say if you're feeling triggered, let's say if something's come up where you're feeling hostile, you've had a really intense reaction to something emotionally, communicating this is really key. So it could be first getting the awareness within yourself. So having the time to meditate and having the time to journal and reflect, communicate with yourself. Like, what just went on there? Like, why did that situation trigger you so much? Why is Sally at work triggering you so much? How is that person me? What is that person trying to teach me? Okay. As soon as you clear it up within yourself, literally everything will change around you. And then potentially this gives you the opportunity to then go and communicate with the people around you who may have copped your reaction, copped this situation or this trigger from you, this projection. It could be a moment for you to communicate with them. Well, I am sorry for this reaction. I now understand this is where it's come from, and I now choose XYZ for the future. I now choose, instead of that behavior, which I know was wrong, that I'm going to start showing up in this way instead. And honestly, guys, this takes practice. This is practice. It's not just going to be like, oh, yep, okay, so these confident women in the gym, they triggered me, and so I'll just go up to that lady and just tell her that she triggered me and then it's going to be okay. No, it's going to be practice every single day to become the best version of you. It's like, literally, if you had a shit diet and shit training routine your entire life and then decide, okay, I'm going to just go to the gym and eat really healthy for one day and then everything is going to be fixed and better and I'm going to achieve my goals, you're going to have a rude awakening, because at the end of the day, that one day is not going to outweigh a whole lifetime of shit habits. Just like one good day of thinking is not going to outweigh a whole lifetime of shit thinking patterns. Okay? This is practice. If you are truly committed to becoming the best version of yourself, if you are truly committed to elevating your vibration and bringing in better situations and experiences for your life, better people, you must become that for yourself, and you must practice and commit to this every single day. I remember when I first did this, I started becoming aware of my thoughts, started becoming aware of who I was judging, who I was criticizing, realizing actually, joke's on me, because it is me that I'm judging and criticizing, okay? Every time I caught myself judging another person, I would then replace it with 3 things that I loved about them, 3 things I loved about them, 3 things I loved about them. If I was judging myself, 3 things I loved about myself instead. And I was always outweighing the negative with the positive, outweighing who I didn't want to be with who I did want to be. And then eventually I built up the courage to then go up to these people that did trigger me and make friends with them. Learn them, understand who they are, get to know them, be friends with them. Okay? It takes practice and it takes commitment. The last thing would be to address the repressed emotion. Now, I've spoken about this in some of my episodes, especially the psychic development episode. But essentially, when we repress an emotion, it's when we refuse to feel it, like I said earlier as well. So if you have a repressed emotion, let's say it's anger, and you notice that like everything in your life is just frustrating you and making you angry right now, it's more than likely that you haven't actually dealt with the first thing in your life that really made you angry, okay? If you are finding that you keep attracting like grieving experiences, you probably haven't dealt with the first thing that gave you that grief in the first place. If you keep attracting fearful experiences, what have you been most fearful of? And going back to the first event, it could be sadness, it could be guilt, shame. I really highly recommend you go and deal with that repressed emotion. When you heal that, when you deal with it, when you learn from it, that is when these other situations, Sally at work, relationships, red lights will stop triggering you as much and stop getting that emotional reaction from you, because you'll be more centered, more peaceful, and at a higher vibration. And if you're curious and you're like, okay, how do I address those lower vibrational emotions? How do I address what's happened to me in the past? I would say to send me a message after you listen to this episode on Instagram, send it to me via email, and that will all my details are on the show notes. Go to my website, because there is a multitude of resources there to help you with this. Plus, I also offer one-on-one coaching as well, and I have spots available for you. You just need to message me, okay? So that would be my tips around how to address your projecting, okay? And this is going to help benefit you in your life, because like I said, you're going to just feel lighter, feel brighter. You're going to be more friendly. You're probably going to allow in more experiences. So my question then to you guys is, if everyone around you is you, okay, and you're seeing a lot of people that you don't like, they're probably reflecting back to you parts of you that you don't like. So as soon as you become in acceptance with those parts of you that you don't like, then the people around you in your life that you don't like will either change or they'll just fall away. And the opposite is true. The people in your life that are really successful, that you love, that you're inspired by, know that they're also you too. That's why they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. That's because your energy attracts your energy, okay? Your vibe attracts your tribe. So these people in your circles who you love also are you. So when you notice the positives about someone, when you really focus on that, that is what expands. So practice, commit, and focus on the positive qualities within other people, and that is what they'll then reflect back to you. If you have any questions about this episode, like I said earlier, and if you want help with dealing with repressed emotions, send me a message via DM on Instagram, or send me an email just going to my website, generationelevation.com.au. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for being a part of the Generation Elevation community. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to leave a 5-star rating, written review, share, and tag me on Instagram at elise.riley. Until next time, keep loving, keep learning, and keep rising.